So there was a big court case that went on recently, and it was the court case for Nicholas Cruz, who did the Parkland, Florida mass school shooting. There were, I believe, 17 people killed, 17 people injured. You know, this was, in many ways, this was kind of a turning point when it came to gun issues, because you had the students who survived sort of organized and started pushing the issue. And, I mean, you could argue to one extent or another, it kind of culminated with this bipartisan gun reform that just passed recently. Now, you know, it goes without saying that doesn't go far enough, right? Doesn't even have universal background checks in it. But it is a law that funds red flag laws, which I think is important. Somebody's acting super erratically and is mentally ill and is being sketchy, like, you're allowed to then legally sort of confiscate their guns, at least for a certain amount of time. It also funds school security, it funds mental health treatment, so, you know, it's definitely a movement in the right direction, not nearly enough. At the very least, you have to do a universal background check system. But, so this guy, the trial was delayed because of COVID and other issues, and now finally they're concluding the trial. He was found guilty. If I remember correctly, the jury was deadlocked on the issue of the death penalty, so I think it's going to be life in prison for Nicholas Cruz. And here's one of the parents of a victim of the shooting, and he apparently said right to Nicholas Cruz's face what he thinks of him. Let's watch.
Parkland murderer. My name is David Robinovitz. I'm Alyssa Aladev's grandfather, and she was my friend. I thought about today somewhat, a lot, and I realized I kind of came to a conclusion that you guys won for now, and basically we lost for now. But that's not going to happen, because Parkland murderer, there's going to come a day. It could be a week from now, it could be a month from now, it could be 40 years from now. You're going to die. When you die, it is my fondest hope that they take you and and burn you and take your ashes and throw them in the garbage dump. You know why? Because garbage to garbage. And at that time, Parkland murderer, it is my hope that you go somewhere to meet your maker of whatever it is. And Parkland murderer, I hope your maker sends you directly to hell to burn for the rest of your eternity.
Goddamn. I also saw an article the other day of one of the victim's parents who said she doesn't want the death penalty for the guy. And I think that's kind of what happened on the jury, is that, you know, everybody knows he did it. You know, it's very clear. All the evidence is there. It's not up in the air. He confessed. But you're going to have, you know, on a jury, you might have some people who just, you know, are principally opposed to the death penalty. And so that's why the jury was deadlocked. That's why he gets life in prison. Me personally, I've talked about this before on the channel. I'm sort of conflicted in the sense that I actually am against the death penalty as a matter of policy, but it's only because 4% of the time we get the wrong people. There was a study that came out of the UK a while back that showed that. So even with all the safeguards built into the system and the guaranteed appeals and things of that nature, 4% of the time we get the wrong people. So I'm not comfortable with a system where our tax dollars fund the murder of innocent people. You can't say, like, yeah, it's only 4%, bro. Well, imagine if you were one of those 4%, right? Like, no, you can't have that, right? So I'm principally opposed to it. But at the same time, like, if this guy was not only found guilty, but, you know, he was facing the death penalty, I wouldn't, you know, object to it. I wouldn't shed a tear for it, because there is a logic to, like, you know, if you're going to take the lives of 17 innocent people who did nothing wrong, well, you know, same shit might happen back to you. And I don't think anybody's really, or I don't think most people are going to be like, oh, this is also an injustice or something. It ain't equal, dog. That is not equal by any stretch of the imagination. And if he didn't kill those 17 people, he wouldn't be put to death, right? So, in certain individual cases, I'm like, okay, like, I'm not going to lose sleep over this. But at the same time, yeah, still, principally, overall, you have to get rid of the death penalty because 4% of the time you get the wrong people. But he's not the wrong person, right? So I feel for this guy and, the pain he went through and what he's saying to this Nicholas Cruz asshole. I like how he refers to him as Parkland murderer, and that's like the only way he refers to him. Yeah, it's terrible, right? It's just so fucked up. We got so many of these shootings happen all the fucking time in this country. We have more we have more guns. We have over 300 million guns in this country, and we have the most mass shootings and the most school shootings by far. And that is not a coincidence. When you have more guns, you are going to have more gun deaths. Now, I'm not a ban guns guy, but I am in favor of basic regulation, which makes the system more reasonable and tries to keep the guns out of the hands of the wrong people. But yeah, this guy called him out right to his face. Right to his face. I don't see much remorse on dude's face, though, I must say. I think one of the arguments that the defense made, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I didn't watch this trial all that closely, but I'm pretty sure I read something about how one of the arguments the defense tried to make is that cognitively this guy is not really, he ain't there. He's not there. He's very, I don't know if it's a low IQ issue or if it's actually some condition. I don't know the specifics, but, I think in extreme cases where somebody's like very mentally impaired, it is a different story where they literally don't know what they're doing. If they do the crime, then, maybe there's a different punishment, different sentence that you bring to a case like that. But if it's like borderline and then you do the crime, it's like you had the agency to not pull the fucking trigger, right? And it was actively a choice to pull the trigger. And so, the punishment should mirror the severity of the crime, correct? So, anyway, it looks like this guy's upset that he didn't get the death penalty. And, if you're a family member of one of the victims, I totally get feeling that way, man. I don't know if this guy were to be put to death, if this grandfather or if some of the parents would feel better. Like, I don't know if that would help them. That doesn't bring their kid back, and we already know the death penalty does not function as a deterrent. There's no evidence to those ends. But at the same time, again, if it's what he wanted to see, I'm not going to sit here and wag my finger at him and be like, you can't feel that, because I'm sure those feelings are super duper raw. Anyway, there you go. He got dressed down, but there's no fucking reaction at all on this guy's face. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.